Hello, thought I'd make some really good chocolate chip cookies today, and I'd share with you a few of the tips and tricks that I use to make these like a level up from your normal chocolate chip cookie. So we're going to start by, these are just pecans that I've broken up and put on a cookie sheet. We're going to start by toasting these in the oven. I've set the oven temp for 375. This will just take a few minutes, maybe 5. I'll check them. And each time that I check them, I'm going to be looking for the texture to become more airy and for this odor, the smell of the toasting nuts. And I'll keep sniffing them and taste until I get that really nutty smell. And then the other thing that we're going to do is we're going to brown some butter. And this is the thing that levels these up. So I'm going to switch to an overhead camera so that you can see the process of browning the butter. All right, so I like to use a frying pan because it goes faster. I just have like a medium heat and we're melting. This is 10 tablespoons of butter. We're gonna melt these 10 tablespoons and then we're gonna add 4 tablespoons of unmelted butter to it. Most of that butter is melted now, so we're going to start watching and smelling. And what we're watching for is a foaming at the top, which is the first part of the process of separating the milk solids from the rest of the butter fat. And then as those milk solids foam up, they'll start to drop to the bottom of the pan and they'll start to brown down there. And that's when you're going to start smelling like a nutty odor. And I'm just kind of keeping it in motion and watching for those solids. So right now we have just a little bit of evaporation going on. So now we're starting to see the foam. That's kind of the first part of the butter separating the solids from the fat. Most of the water has evaporated at this point. And I'm starting to smell the butter. And you'll see it start to get like less opaque, more clear. You can see in the bottom of the pan there, you can see little tiny chunks. That's the solids. Those are the part that are going to start to brown. So now at this point, now that those solids have started to drop, we have to watch closely for any browning of those solids, and that's what we're looking for, and then we need to catch it before it burns. And the butter smell is getting stronger. I'm still waiting for a nutty smell. The color of the butter is starting to change a little. It's not as yellow. It's starting to turn more golden. And there, those solids are starting to brown. You can see them browning. Okay, yeah, it's nutty smelling. And we're gonna take this off the heat. We want our butter to cool down. I'm just gonna move some of this foam so you can see the brown solids down there. There they are. So we want this butter. We're gonna stir it in to some unmelted butter. We want all those little browned bits. Those are the yummy parts. So you can go ahead and put the whole thing in. And then we're just going to stir it until those start to melt as well. Once this butter is melted, we're going to add the sugar. Here's our pecans. We'll let those cool. They smell fantastic, and that's about right where we want them. All right. we've got our melted butter and the brown bits are in there. We're gonna add a few more ingredients. We're gonna add a sugar, which is half a cup of white sugar. We're gonna add 3/4 of a cup of dark brown sugar. And you wanna pat that down in your container because you wanna measure it consistently. So there's half a cup. And here's 1/4 cup, making it 3/4. We've got a teaspoon of table salt. And we're gonna add 2 teaspoons of vanilla. We're gonna measure that over something else in case we slip. Although extra vanilla didn't ever hurt anybody. There's our vanilla. So this is going into that melted butter. And then I have in here, I have 1 egg yolk, just the yolk. I've already separated it. And we're gonna add 1 whole egg. And then before we add that in, I like to take a fork and just break those yolks up a little bit. Get them a little bit mixed into that white. And now here's kind of the interesting part. So, you know, baking is all about chemistry, and one of the things that we're doing when we stir is we're adding air into our batter. So what we're doing here also is we're changing the structure of that of the sugar crystals that are mixed in with the butter. So we're gonna do 30 really hard strokes, then we're gonna let it rest for 3 minutes, and we're gonna do that again 3 more times. So let's do 30 real quick and then we'll pause. Okay, let's take a look at what that looks like. Because it's going to change as we keep doing this. So we're going to pause. We're going to do it a couple more times and then I'll come back and do it the final time so you can see the difference in the color. All right, this is the 4th time that I'm going to give this a vigorous stir. You can see how much lighter the color is now. So between each stir, we rested for 3 minutes. We're going to add 3/4 a cup of flour. And when I measure the flour for cookies, I use like a scoop to put the flour in the cup, and then I level it off with a knife. We want to get an accurate measurement when we're baking something like this. And this is baking soda, half a teaspoon. We're just going to gently fold this all in. So we don't want to do that vigorous stirring once we've added the flour, because we don't want to generate like gluten building properties in the flour like you would with bread. So you just want to gently stir it in so it's incorporated. It will be a very thick dough. And then we're going to add those toasted pecans. That was 3/4 a cup of toasted broken pecans. You can use walnuts, whatever nuts you like, or no nuts. And then I like to use bittersweet chocolate. But you can use whichever kind of chocolate chips you prefer. And that's 1.25 cups of the chocolate chips. And then we are going to drop that onto 2 cookie sheets. So I like to use a cookie scoop. You can use a spoon. We're going to have 2 sizes here. And you can see that this is a parchment lined baking sheet. This is the parchment we did the pecans on. I also used it yesterday for scones. You can reuse parchment several times. And if you don't have a handy dandy baking scoop like this, just use this tablespoon from your kitchen drawer. Once we get these all on the tray, I'm going to put them in the oven for about 10 minutes. I'm going to stop it halfway through and rotate my pans around just to make sure that everything's getting evenly baked because I have a gas oven. So I will be back and show you the final product. Alright, these are the final cookies. Just came out of the oven. You can see about how done they are. I'm going to let them sit for just a few minutes and then scrape them off, and this makes 2.5 dozen, pretty much exactly, unless you eat some of the dough while you're baking before you get them into cookies, which happens a lot with my daughter. Anyway, enjoy. Hope you make these and find some joy today. Stay well.